Marvel fans, comic geeks, and all the nerds in between. My name is Megan, and I am here today, not with a character breakdown as usual, but more of a marriage breakdown, I guess you could say. It's about Storm and Black Panther's marriage together. And this has been kind of a hot topic lately because we got the casting for the new Black Panther, and, we're getting X-Men casting all over, so we're hoping Storm comes soon. Plus, with the rumors that Storm is going to appear in Black Panther 3, which is just rumors. That's it. Nothing else. Don't believe everything you hear on the internet. So let's talk about Storm and Black Panther's marriage. Storm and Black Panther's love story is one of Marvel's romances that basically started with, hey, want to team up and fight criminals? And somehow turned into a marriage, interdimensional chaos, and eventually throwing a wedding ring at each other. So healthy communication was apparently not the priority. So they were actually only married for 6 years, our time, which isn't much time in terms of comics. I think it was like a year maybe. Their story actually began when they were both kids, thanks to a retcon, as revealed in Marvel Team Up number 100 in 1972. After being orphaned at just 6 years old, Aurora, who is Aurora Monroe, who is Storm, lived on the streets of Cairo, Egypt, as a thief and a street urchin. Then, at the age of 12, mysterious visions convinced her to leave Cairo and travel across Africa. Along the way, she ran into another kid on a very important journey, young T'Challa, the future Black Panther and King of Wakanda. Their first meeting was definitely not a cute little Disney-style meet-cute. Aurora found T'Challa fighting off Andreas de Ruyter, a South African trafficker who wanted to kidnap the Wakandan prince and use him as a puppet for foreign interests. Because if there's one thing about being a kid in Marvel, it means you're going to be dealing with international kidnapping plots. Aurora jumped in to help, and together they made ridiculously quick work of de Ruyter and his men. The two immediately proved that they were a great team, and the chemistry between them became very obvious to each other. Before long, their separate journeys turned into one, with Aurora joining T'Challa on his travels. Their adventures were later explored in Storm miniseries from 2006, but unfortunately, their childhood romance did not last forever. T'Challa was feeling the enormous weight of his royal responsibilities and became focused on avenging his father's death. His obsession with that mission eventually pushed Aurora away, and the two went their separate ways. And then years passed, as they do. T'Challa became King of Wakanda, Aurora became known as a goddess, and eventually one of the X-Men's most powerful members, Storm. On the surface, it looked like they had both moved on, but neither had completely forgotten about the other, or stopped wondering what might have happened if things had gone differently. When they reunited as adults and once again dealt with Andreas de Ruyter again together, they admitted that they still had feelings for each other, but then they both agreed it was too late. But one person in Wakanda apparently said absolutely not. That person was T'Challa's mother, Queen Ramonda. In Black Panther number 14 from 2005, Ramonda sent T'Challa on a journey to find a wife, partly hoping he'd return with Storm in tow. Basically, Wakanda's queen was running a royal dating service. Their reunion wasn't exactly smooth. Aurora still had a pretty serious grudge against T'Challa for pushing her away all those years ago, but T'Challa eventually managed to soften her up with a marriage proposal. She didn't accept right away, though. Aurora waited until the end of the next issue before finally saying yes. But also keep in mind, it wasn't just a simple proposal. When T'Challa asked Storm to marry him, he proposed with more than a ring. He also included a promise to help her find her family. Storm spent her childhood as a street thief in Cairo. Having lost her parents when a military jet flew into their home, Storm quickly bonded with the X-Men, choosing them as her new family. Like T'Challa, Storm puts a strong value on family and loyalty. Working together, the pair found Storm's long-lost relatives in Africa and America. With her family restored, Storm could marry T'Challa, having received both her blood and chosen family's blessing. And then came the wedding. In Black Panther number 18 from 2005, that gave us the superhero wedding of the century. Storm and Black Panther tied the knot, and Marvel basically invited the entire universe. Superheroes from across the Marvel Universe showed up, even with the Civil War conflict over the Superhuman Registration Act still going on. I want you to understand this. Civil War was currently happening, and they all took a break to attend the wedding. Old enemies like M'Baku showed up. Even the ancient cosmic being known as the Watcher came to celebrate. But of course, since Civil War was currently happening, there was drama. Isn't there always drama at a wedding? Iron Man and Captain America were guests, and tensions quickly rose. Black Panther begged the pair to set aside their disagreement for the day, but the two left early to avoid an argument. The Cannonball tried to disrupt the wedding, but Doctor Strange kept him out. Finally, a fight broke out between Spider-Man and Man-Ape. When your wedding guest list includes both longtime enemies and all-seeing cosmic beings, you know you're going to have to brace yourself for more than a little wedding problems like the flowers being the wrong shade of pink. After the wedding and honeymoon, T'Challa and Aurora went on a diplomatic world tour, visiting major powers like Atlantis and Latveria. Part of the mission was to figure out who Wakanda could consider an ally and who was probably plotting something terrible behind closed doors. And if you're going to Atlantis and Latveria, it's probably the latter. As King and Queen of Wakanda, Storm and Black Panther had plenty of adventures together, but things got especially crazy during their time with the Fantastic Four. In Black Panther number 26 in 2005, T'Challa and Aurora stepped in for Sue Storm and Reed Richards while they took a break from the team. Alongside Human Torch and The Thing, they traveled across the multiverse, fought Galactus and his heralds, and even saved the embodiment of reality itself. So basically, your average royal vacation. What's interesting to note is that apparently writing these two icons as a married couple was extremely difficult. The difficulty was that Storm and Black Panther had separate comics. They made it difficult for writers to keep Storm and Black Panther in their separate titles and giving them stories together. It was equally hard to give either character actual equal weight. Prolific X-Men writer Chris Claremont felt the inability to make one of them the supporting actor really hurt the relationship, and that's completely fair. Most of this happened in the Black Panther comics, which did do a disservice to Storm as a character. She was T'Challa's wife. She was there just because of him. And, you know, I would have liked to see maybe their own run together. But no. Despite having a very interesting run as a married couple and a superhero duo, their relationship eventually ran into the problem neither of them could punch their way out of: loyalty of their friends. During Avengers vs. X-Men in 2012, Black Panther gave the outlawed Avengers refuge in Wakanda. Unfortunately, this decision came with a catastrophic price. Namor, wielding a fragment of the Phoenix Force, flooded Wakanda while searching for the Avengers. The attack nearly destroyed the country, and this is in Avengers vs. X-Men number 7. T'Challa responded by declaring the X-Men enemies of the state, and Aurora, she sided with her X-Men family, as she should. In Avengers vs. X-Men Versus number 5, she made her feelings very clear by throwing down her wedding ring battling T'Challa. Then their marriage was annulled. With all this happening in Avengers vs. X-Men, it's no surprise that things just go from bad to even nastier with the Avengers and the X-Men. The mutants use their powers to make the world a better place, but the Avengers were concerned the Phoenix Force would corrupt them. The Avengers' fears came true, and the Phoenix Five began doing terrible things. So that's what was happening in Avengers vs. X-Men, if you did not know. After Namor turned on Wakanda, when he went to flood it all, Storm went to help Black Panther to handle the aftermath, even though they'd been on opposite sides of the war. She is his wife, after all. T'Challa was angry and hurt, and felt Storm's arrival was too little too late. He informed her that in her absence, he had annulled their marriage and told her to leave Wakanda. Well, actually, he said, "The high priest of the Panther clan has annulled our marriage, and you are not my wife anymore." And Storm was all, "But T'Challa, you're the high priest of the Panther clan," which was met with, "Do not come here again." But that still wasn't the end of them. No one can quit their exes. After their falling out, Aurora and T'Challa continued to have a complicated relationship. In Black Panther and the Crew from 2017, T'Challa recruited Storm to help investigate Hydra activity in Harlem. And just like old times, the two admitted they still had deep feelings for each other. So maybe there was still hope? Well, yes. But then Marvel said, let's make things worse. The door to reconciliation was slammed shut in Marauders number 13. During Saturnine's Otherworld tournament, Storm stole the sacred Stormblade from the inner chambers of the Wakandan palace. T'Challa responded by destroying the gate connecting Krakoa and Wakanda and installing Gentle as a spy on the island, because nothing says we used to love each other, quite like international espionage. When Storm discovered what T'Challa had done in Black Panther number 6, the divide between them grew even bigger. Eventually, Aurora decided she could only support T'Challa as a friend going forward. And that kind of brings us to where their relationship stands. Storm and Black Panther's love story started with two kids meeting in Africa, surviving dangerous enemies together, and slowly falling for each other. Not very slowly, but retcons, you know. They grew up, became a king and a goddess, reunited, got married in one of the biggest superhero weddings ever, traveled the multiverse, fought cosmic beings, and nearly destroyed their relationship over the Avengers versus X-Men conflict, and somehow kept finding their way back into each other's lives. Also, keep in mind that in the main Marvel universe, Storm and Black Panther's marriage did not result in any children. However, in alternate realities and timelines, they had several children together, including Shuri, T'Chaka, Sky Panther, the time traveler Chimera has been confirmed as Storm's child, but her father wasn't confirmed. However, given Chimera's exhibits animal-like abilities and travels with the large Black Panther, I think a lot of us suspect that Chimera is T'Challa's daughter too. The love between Storm and T'Challa has made it into multiple timelines, and their divorce doesn't seem to be the inevitable result of each one. These two have basically been saying we're better off as friends for years, while repeatedly proving that they absolutely have unresolved feelings. One thing that I personally find very funny is that while they're platonic, T'Challa does not want Storm to be with one person in particular. T'Challa has given his blessing to Storm, encouraging her to find love with somebody else, as long as that someone is not Wolverine. Storm and Logan have a history of being an on-again, off-again romance based in mutual respect that many readers found themselves unexpectedly fans of. I still don't know where I stand on it. It's been years. I have no idea. Given Black Panther's behavior, one almost wonders if he feels threatened by Wolverine's connection to Storm. The last time we saw Storm and Logan together, intimately, was actually pretty recent in Storm number 3 that came out a couple years ago. So, sorry, T'Challa. But as explored more recently in Marvel's Voices Legends number 1 from 2024, the door to reconciliation isn't necessarily locked forever. Then again, knowing these two, the next reunion could involve a cosmic tournament, a political crisis, a stolen magical weapon, or somebody destroying another international border. It's all on the table. Because apparently, let's just talk about our feelings is not an option in Wakanda. So that is the whole story of Black Panther and Storm's marriage. I hope you enjoyed this episode. I hope you'll like and subscribe, and I hope you have a marvelous day.